Good morning, everyone. I will call to order this regular meeting of the Lane County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, March 5th. Welcome. It's good to see so many folks in person here in Harris Hall. And we will start by working down our agenda to first see if there are any adjustments to the agenda from our administrator.
No, they're not.
From the board? Seeing none. Any emergency business to cover this morning?
Today.
Thank you. Then we will move right into public comment. We have a few folks signed up in Harris Hall, and I'll check in with Tanya to see if we have folks online, and then we'll come back to the hall to see if anyone arrived late and still wishes to speak. Speakers will be taken in the order in which they sign up and will be limited to 3 minutes per public comment. There'll be a clock on the wall that will start as soon as you state your name for the record. And a reminder, anyone who doesn't get to complete their comments or wants to communicate with the board but doesn't want to speak, you are always welcome to email us your input. And so with that, I will call first to the podium Stephen E. Honeycutt, and he will be followed by John Profit. So Stephen, please step to the podium, state your name for the record, and keep an eye on the timer. Thank you and good morning.
My name is Stephen Honeycutt. I support the stadium. I'm going to address the statements against. My references would be the Register Guard, February 24th, the Lane County meeting of last week. The Register Guard, Mr. McWayne addressing City Council. The easiest decision for this council would be let the voters decide, but risk your credibility by asking taxpayers to fund a $15 million bond while reducing city services by $15 million. I asked Randy Groves, the city councilor, Ward 8, and I'll quote him, "The city of Eugene moved to a biannual budget this past year. With that said, the projected is $15 million for 2 years and not is for 2 years. So the annual deficit is $7.5 million, not $15 million. There is no city of Eugene general fund money being considered for the stadium project. Mr. McRain claims there is a gap. However, if the city bond passes and the state money is allocated in the short season, this gets the funding to $90 million. This is a new small investment into our community that does not take existing money. It's false to suggest it reduces city services. The 20-year general obligation bond, which amounts to 8 cents per thousand of a tax assessed valuation, this equates to $22 a year. Mr. Wayne, I quote, "It would detract from the Lane Event Center operation and would lose $200,000 each year." Where did the $200,000 come from? How does this detract? And adding the venue should add revenue. Mr. McRain, harm the character of the neighborhood. This is subjective. Some would agree, some would not, and others no opinion. It is a beautiful historical neighborhood that has been downtrodden with homelessness, drugs, park trailers, and crime. From last week's meeting, John Crowder, he says that it would affect free enterprise, hurt small businesses, take away jobs. How? Lisa Bray stated she loves baseball, where we must look beyond, wondering how it would benefit the county and the others. With respect to Mr. Chowder, Mrs. Bray, they were not prepared and not informed. It is the responsibility of the people to be informed. The statements against the stadium are misleading and needed to be addressed.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up is John Profit, and he'll be followed by Heidi Ringus.
Good morning, I'm John Profit, and here we are again. I've been trying to get you to help me for 10 months, and now your inaction has cost me another $11,000. Remember, I live on $1,100 a month. They got me nothing except another CA, so now I have another corrective action because they won't quit. They're refusing to read their own codes and their own records, and they're literally preventing me from complying with the CA 2216. My house is a residence. I have a residential R3 permit that I've had until they would not let me keep it. They claim I need a commercial permit. Their own records show that you can have 4 stories and up to 60 feet, which mine is 51, on an R3 permit, which is what I had. They will not look at their own codes. Heidi will give each of you +1 in record that shows all of this, that proves that, and there were hearings from other counties that confirm that. I have, by the way, filed for an appeal again on this next new CA. I know we'll just keep doing them forever. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up is Heidi Ringus, and she'll be followed by, it's either Dale or Dave Hartley. I apologize. Please correct when you get to the podium.
Want me to give these out, or? Okay. No, actually, I want them to go through. Hi, my name's Heidi Ringus. I don't give up. Okay, start with John's record of the approval. So next is referenced here in the record is the December 28th, 2016. Nothing in here. I dare any of you to find me anywhere in here where it says commercial. Does not say commercial. Here is the summary of the May 20th meeting where he signed the as-built. And again, nothing in here. This is to summarize what he needed to do to come to completion. Nothing in here says anything about commercial. The next page is where they manufactured evidence. Literally. If you flip over to the next page, I would like you to read the 4 highlighted bits from the bottom up, and then read the highlighted the line above the highlighted stuff. And that's the manufactured evidence. Because none of the 4 statements put in by Steve McGuire prior to that top statement, none of them corroborate any of this. Neither does the record, neither do the emails. Okay, so they just inserted that in there, and it's a lie. Okay, here is my rebuttal to Steve McGuire lying for them. Then I went to the state fire marshal, because in our findings, I noticed they had said, the state fire marshal said this, the state fire marshal said that. No, I called the state fire marshal, and she made the mistake of responding to me. I agree that my words were not used as I intended them. So they're putting words in her mouth, right? And then she just decides, but other items, it doesn't seem that I can sway the outcome. So I emailed her back, and what did I get? What did I get for all my effort? And asking her to do the right thing and step up and say that these people are putting words in my mouth? Blocked. Yeah, blocked. Because she chickened out. She didn't want to stand up and do the right thing. Okay, and why, I would like to know, is Mr. Darnell's findings, why are they being mailed from Public Works? I mean, his office is downtown. Why were they mailed from Public Works? And even better, why were they mailed on 11/29 when he didn't sign and date them until 11:30? So he signed and dated something that had been put in the mail the day before. So yeah, that's not looking janky or anything. Okay, piece de resistance. We're supposed to follow the OSSC code. Here's the OSSC code that says 903.2.8.1, Group R3. Automatic sprinkler systems shall be permitted in Group R3. The next line says,
Ms. Ringus, I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Okay,
Thank you for
well,
your public comment.
this says that we can have 4 stories and 60 feet. So
Thank
you
you.
need to call your dogs off.
Next call up, Dale or Dave Hartley. Please state your name for the record, and the timer will begin at that time. Thank you.
Yes, hello, my name is Dale Hartley, and I am here today in support of the Eugene Emeralds project. I have 3 bullet points I'd like to address today. Number 1 is the impact to our local baseball community and our nonprofit community. I am currently president of the Eugene Challengers American Legion baseball program, having been on the board for 28 years and serving as president since 2004. The collaboration between our organization and the Emeralds is a critical component for our program to be able to succeed. Alan and his staff have supported us financially. They have promoted our organization. They have been a stout supporter of youth baseball in this community. Another hat that I'm proud to be a part of, organization, is Sheldon High School baseball. My son is a sophomore at Sheldon, varsity baseball player. I'm currently the president of Friends of Sheldon Baseball. We're a nonprofit organization that enhances the opportunities for athletes in the Sheldon community. Alan and his staff, the Emeralds, have been a stout supporter of Sheldon High School athletics, in particular our baseball program. And finally, the Willamette Valley Area Babe Ruth. My wife has chaired numerous regional tournaments, which the Emeralds have supported by hosting opening ceremonies for teams from 8 Western states that come annually to this community and participate in youth baseball. My second bullet point is athletic facilities. I would like to question you and ask you if you know how many regulation 90-foot baseball fields are available in Eugene. The answer is 6. PK Park, the 4 athletic fields hosted at the 4J School District properties, and 1 public field at the Manor House on Old Coburg Road. That is the only 6 baseball fields in the entire city that are 90-foot baseball fields. If we lose this opportunity, we will lose yet another resource for our youth to be able to play baseball in this community. And finally, the economic impact. In 2016, the Eugene Challengers organization was incredibly honored to receive from Travel Lane County the Sports Leadership Award for over 40 years of supporting this community through our efforts to bring visiting teams to the area to play in our annual summer baseball tournaments. I find it incredibly ironic that in less than 2 hours, I'll be meeting with a representative from Travel Lane County and their Eugene's Cascade and Coast Sports Commission to discuss the importance of the strategic partnership between the Eugene Challengers and their organization in bringing in needed overnight visitors to our community this July with our 48th annual Papa's Pizza Invitational, bringing 12 teams to our community from 12 different communities outside of Eugene, and the 2024 American Legion State Baseball Tournament hosted here at Swede Johnson Stadium. Yet Travel Lane County has been an outspoken opponent of this Eugene Emeralds project, which will not only provide an additional valuable athletic facility in our community, but will also provide potentially planned year-round activities that will spur economic benefit, positive social activities for our families, and will bring visitors to the area that will benefit our hotels, restaurants, and ultimately Travel Lane County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is L. Jamie Christopher, followed by Seth Karpinski.
Good morning. I'm Louis James Christopher. Everyone calls me Jamie. I'm the current president of Willamette Valley Babe Ruth. I'm a former president of the Boys and Girls Club of Emerald Valley. I've been involved with nonprofits in this community for over around 20 years. This project, I support the Emeralds Stadium project, and it's really about we and not me. The fairgrounds need to be revitalized. A private entity is going to invest over $20 million into a public facility that they don't own. That's huge. We need that kind of investment. The Eugene Emeralds are so far beyond baseball, I'm not even going to talk about baseball, even though that's my background. When I was president of the Boys and Girls Club, our doors would have shuttered without them. They stepped up, they donated time, effort, and money, and a facility for us to host an event to raise money for our facilities, for our organization. If you talk to any nonprofit in this community, any nonprofit, the Emeralds have stepped up. During the pandemic, during the wildfires, I worked side by side with Emeralds employees who weren't working on baseball at the time because it was closed, providing food, shelter, clothing, housing, transportation of water, everything, an area for people to organize. Again, we cannot exist as a community without the Emeralds in my mind, just I've never seen it. I can't experience that. There are communities around this country fighting and crawling for the baseball that provides the summer entertainment, the family fun and entertainment they provide, the financial benefits, the 300+ jobs that they provide, the taxes, the non-direct public services that they provide. They literally, their contribution to the community is without measure in dollars and cents, even though they are investing over $20 million to a public facility. I want that to resonate. People are watching. I have hundreds, if not 1,000 people looking at my Facebook page for Willamette Valley Babe Ruth. They overwhelmingly support this project. Do not be the reason that we do not have the Eugene Emeralds in our community. Please, please give us a chance. We need them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment. Next is Seth Karpinski, followed by Alan McWayne.
Good morning. My name's Seth Karpinski. We've lived at 15th and Washington in the Jefferson West Side neighborhood for 21 years. I'm here to speak in support of the Eugene Emeralds ballpark at the fairgrounds. In our first year in Eugene, we lived at 19th, just above Willamette, about 2 to 3 blocks from Civic Stadium. As we were raising our kids, we'd enjoy heading over to Civic for a game. The kids would have the run of the place. If you all remember that very favorably. Baseball is an important part of the American fabric and the fabric of Eugene, as these earlier speakers have alluded to. Baseball in the fairgrounds makes tremendous sense. It's centralized. People can walk, bike, or bus to the stadium, and there's parking. Whether it's early spring or a hot summer night, having a game right in the heart of Eugene would be grand. The fairgrounds is a tremendous asset in our neighborhood. As neighbors, we enjoy it on a daily basis, the wide open space that the fairgrounds provides. Seeing it put to use for the baseball season would be fantastic. As a neighbor, as a 22-year resident of Eugene, and as a baseball fan, I heartily support the Emeralds proposal to encourage the City Council to support the Emeralds at the fairgrounds in any way you can. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next is Alan McWayne, and then we'll move to online.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alan McWayne, also Mr. Mokrahysky. Let me respond to the very first speaker. I stand by my comments in the Register Guard completely. And actually, it was the Register Guard that has reported the $15 million cuts in services, also projected another $8 to $10 million in cuts. Regarding the $200,000 operating loss, Alan Benavides asked me, he said, where did you get those figures? Well, it's right there in the master plan, which we'll be talking later. Those are the only firm pro forma financials we have. I know that Pat Farr asked Mr. Mokrahysky for a latest update, and no change since last report. But the master plan does say expected revenue of $2 million, expenses of $2,200,000. And the source of that is the EMS owner, ESG. So I hope that is addressed later, the master plan. Master plan was a secret for so long. It was released in April, but it was just days before the July meeting that came out. Reason, I think because it was too expensive, too large, wrong location, lose $200,000, detract from LEC, and it should be managed by the LEC, not by the EMS. It was rated number 7 of 8 proposals by the consultant and rejected. Also, I want to comment about some of the M's misleading statements. Last 3 years, they said they're paying for the stadium. No, they're paying for $10 million in prepaid rent, and their own site, Mr. Benavides will tell you, Save Our M's, says this is over 30 years, not over 10 or 20 years. Mr. D.G. Elmore himself told me that last August. Also, they've expressed vague plans to achieve additional funding. And recently they say they pledged additional amounts, bringing their total involvement. I think that is just their prepaid lease, their own sports equipment, their bases and batting cages, and their own sponsors. I know we have a lot of baseball fans here in the room. The M's don't have to leave. Other teams, Portland, Salem, Corvallis, Springfield, Bend, they all play in smaller minor leagues, and they have a great time. Finally, I think Albany officials must be really hoping that this stadium is built, because they're going to have the economic impact of $5.5 million, 8,500 rooms, as Mr. Farr told us last meeting, and they will be able to pay to upgrade their county fairgrounds using visitor taxes for a facility and an event that will bring in visitors. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Tanya, I'll turn it over to you to manage the online queue, please.
If you would like to give public comment for the Board of County Commissioners meeting for March 5th, please raise your virtual hand. I do see one. Christine Brent-Bienda, would you like to be on camera?
Yes.
Okay. You will see an option on your computer to promote to panelist. And then you can go ahead and share your camera. And you may begin your public comment.
Okay. So on March 1st on KUZI, the EMS general manager said that we're going to activate the site as much as possible. We're not going to hibernate for the winter. So let's think about that. Who would rent or attend an event in an open air stadium on a day like today or tomorrow or next week? Eugene's average daytime temperature was winter daytime temperature was 47 degrees with rain on half the days. And then remember that week of freezing snow and ice. Any open air stadium sits vacant for long periods of time, no matter the best intentions. And when it's empty, it's losing money and is a target for vandalism. Let's talk cost. At a June 2023 commissioner meeting, the project grand total budget was $100,469,000, with the cost escalating the longer the project waits. I think the public needs some clarity because I've been hearing 90 million, and I get it. Subtracting the $10 million for the destruction and rebuilding of the livestock facility helps sell the project. But it's misinformation because without that destruction, a stadium can't go into the proposed area. Then the EMS contribution of $10 million that goes not to build the facility, but rather toward a 20 or 30-year lease, depending on who you talk to. 20 years with no other financial liability to the site, and a guarantee that no matter what happens, the rent won't increase. That's a pretty sweet deal that any tenant would love. With so many pressing community needs and budget cuts, no state, city, or county government should use public money to finance a privately owned, for-profit, multi-million-dollar conglomerate in any form. This is not the time, and the Lane Event Center is not the place to build a $100 million plus baseball stadium. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. I do not see any other hands raised, so I will return it back to you.
Thank you, Tanya. Is there anyone else who arrived late in Harris Hall and didn't have a chance to sign up to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment and thank everyone for coming, and then I will turn it over to the board for commissioners' response to public comment and or any other issues or remonstrance they wish to raise this morning.
I'll start.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, I feel the tension up here on the stage, so it's kind of nervous, so I'll start and break the tension a little bit. Yeah, again, you guys, thank you, all citizens, for coming and giving public testimony. It's important for us to hear. It's important for you to voice your opinion, and it's important for those issues to be out in the open for the public to consider. We've lost sleep over this, a lot of these issues. I've lost sleep over John Proffitt's and Heidi Ringus' case. I think there should be something we should get all into a room and get that settled. I'd really like to get that settled on your behalf, John. Also, the EMS thing, this is a very emotional event, and I want to just tell everybody else that in business, there's a lot of emotion that drives a lot of mistakes in business, and for me, I'm trying to keep the facts in front of me and to hear what people are saying, and I recognize and hear the facts that are presented, but I also hear the emotion and the connection with baseball. I myself was a president of Babe Ruth Baseball back in the day. I was a hitting coach for Marist High School for a number of years, so I have a great connection to baseball as well, and I respect Alan Benavides as one of the premier people in our community. So those things are weighing heavily on my mind. I want to let you know that that will be part of the decision going forward, and we've got a lot of steps to cover between now and even next week. So I'm hoping things all line into place, and if not, we will persevere as a county and as a people and as a community. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Farr.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. To Ms. Ringus, thank you for this package. I've kind of skimmed through it. I'll take time to read more in detail. Thank you for providing that. Just one quick comment, Ms. Morkowski, and that is regarding 8,500 rooms. I did meet with a group of neighbors from Jefferson West Side, right at where 14th Avenue dead ends into the west side of the fairgrounds. We met in the driveway there. the rain stopped for a few minutes. And what the 8,500 rooms that he was talking about was a number that I got from the logging conference. I'd spoken at the logging conference the week before. First time I'd ever been to the logging conference in 50 years of living in Lane County. The number that I got from the logging conference, which I told to Mr. McWayne, was that, and the other people there, was that the logging conference generated, according to their numbers, over 8,500 room nights the week of the logging conference. So just a little bit of clarification on that statement. So thanks everybody for being here this morning. That's all. Thanks.
All right. Commissioner Seneca.
Yes, once again, Heidi, John, appreciate you coming, and I was skimming through this, and there's a lot of work put into this, and I appreciate it, because it, really shows us how passionate you are about your place, and I'm sure the same passion went into building it. The M's, I will second what Commissioner Lovell says. It's a huge decision, and we have lost a lot of sleep over it. There's our emails, our public comments are filled with passion from both sides. I mentioned the last week, and I just want to harken back to that again this week. My district goes all the way to the coast, starts at Beltline, goes all the way to the coast. So that's something I really have to take into consideration. What's best for Florence, what's best for Mapleton, Dune City, so on and so forth. So that, as we're talking about Eugene, there's a lot of Lane County outside Eugene. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I want to first appreciate everybody coming out. We will be talking more about the EMS project next week, so I'm going to reserve my comments until then. But I see a lot of other people here that I believe are likely associated with hockey, who are also at the Lane Event Center. And we'll be talking about that shortly. I just want people to keep a perspective that there are a lot of activities happening at the Lane Event Center at any given point in time. And honestly, it's something that we don't fund very well. Those buildings are older. They need a lot of investment for anything really to really spark some more economic development at that location. So when we're talking about DMs next week, I will be keeping that broader vision in mind. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I also want to thank everyone. Everyone had a choice about where to be this morning, and you chose to be here, so thank you for doing so. And to follow on to Commissioner Buck's comment, I believe, and Mr. Buller, when you come to the table, you can correct me, we have about 750,000 visitors to the Lane Event Center site each year, which is in the heart of my district. So lots of people use that site and a number of facilities there, and I imagine we could get a lot more people using them and improving the experience of the people who are using them. We have events large and small, indoors, outdoors, often multiple events happening on any one day. And then, of course, we have a couple of events that have a higher sort of visibility to the surrounding community, like the fair and so on. But it's a really important, critical asset for the county and for the community, that campus. So if nothing else, stadium or no, this has spurred really good conversation about what we want to do with that campus for the greatest good for the community and what makes most sense for the county as an organization, financially and operationally. So it's all very exciting. It's all part of the process, including the messy and uncomfortable and difficult parts. The last thing I want to say this morning is just acknowledge this Friday is International Women's Day. We have exceptional women working in this organization and serving the community, but in particular, in this country, while we are over half of the population, we are only about a quarter of our elected representatives at the national level. And even right here in Lane County, I just want to point out, this county was incorporated in 1851. And it wasn't until 1974 that we elected the first woman to this Board of County Commissioners, Nancy Hayward. She was followed by Anna Morrison, Ellie Dumdye, and Cindy Wheeldryer, and in 2018, we elected Commissioner Buck as only the 5th woman ever elected to Lane County, and with my election in 2020, you could literally no longer only count on one hand the number of women elected to this board. Women have made exceptional contributions to this country and the world, and International Women's Day is a day to celebrate the achievements and contributions to the economy, the culture, and the political leadership. I will also like to call out our two other elected women leaders at Lane County, our assessor, Mary Vuxit Schaefer, and our district attorney, Patty Perlow. And with that, just encourage everyone to visit the International Women's Day website to learn more. And we will move on in our agenda. Next up, we have the consent calendar for Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. Do I have a motion for approval?
Yes, Chair, I move approval and adoption of the consent calendar for March 5th, 2024.
I'll second.
It's a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as published for Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. All items on the consent calendar can be found online and all their associated materials linked there. All those in favor of approval of today's consent calendar signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And we will move on to an item from Public Works, the moment many of you have been waiting for, a discussion, and order number 24030504 in the matter of approving a 5-year lease agreement with Hockey Oregon LLC. And I'll welcome our Lane Event Center Division Manager and Fair Manager Corey Buller to the staff table. Good morning. Great. Yeah, and I'll just have you introduce any guests you're bringing with you this morning.
Chair, I'll just make a few introductory comments here. I started in Lane County in 2014, 10 years ago. And when I started, I heard stories about, probably it was 13, 14 years ago, when there was a proposal. And Commissioner Farr, you may have, I'm not sure if you were on the board or you came on right after, but you may be the one commissioner that has some recollection of the really difficult, the financial cliff that Lane County faced around 2010, 11, 12 with the last big drop of Secure Rural Schools funding. So I heard these stories of one of the proposals on the chopping block was the ice rink. And Harris Hall being flooded with supporters of the ice rink, of figure skating and hockey and other ice enthusiasts. And then this partnership with Hockey Oregon that was developed. And so I don't want to steal Corey and the Hockey Oregon folks' thunder here in presenting this to you, but I just want to kick this off by saying that over the last 13 years, it's been a really positive example of a public-private partnership in a public facility that was threatened to be closed because the government didn't have enough resources to operate it effectively. We welcomed in Hockey Oregon, and they've done really some incredible work over the course of the last 13 years in being entrepreneurial and building the support and both from youth programs to adult programs. Really great work here. So we're here to talk about continuing that partnership and solidifying that partnership for a more defined period of time, and then also supporting the work that Hockey Oregon is doing and raising the funds necessary to do some really critical improvements at that facility. So with all the budget challenges and financial challenges and operational challenges we have still today in Lane County, I think here's an example of a really great public-private partnership that we've had a lot of success with. So I'll turn it over to Corey to add a little bit more context, and then our folks from Hockey Oregon have a presentation for you.
Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Murkowski. Chair, Commissioners, appreciate the opportunity this morning to talk about one of our facilities and that public-private relationship that we've had for approximately 13 years or so. So with me this morning is Ken Evans, the owner of Hockey Oregon LLC, and Flint Dunkchak, who's the general manager of the ice arena currently. So a quick history of the facility, and then I'll turn it over to them to give the rest of the presentation. So the current ice arena was originally built as a livestock arena in 1980, converted into an ice arena in approximately 1989, operated and ran as a division of the Lane Event Center, operated under the Fair Board for approximately 20 years. So as Mr. Murkowski mentioned, along with the loss of a lot of revenues and some tough times, we were also transitioning into a new governance model as a department in Lane County. And so with those new staff cost, overhead cost, and the ongoing facility and maintenance costs, we found it very difficult to operate that facility in a profit as an enterprise fund. So in 2010, Mr. Moroka is right, about 2010, the current Board of Commissioners asked us to find and explore ways and opportunities to keep the facility open and limit the amount of money that we were losing in the facility. So through that public-private partnership with Hockey Oregon LLC, the ice arena has remained open, operating, programs running since that time very successfully. Due to the age of the facility and the equipment, there's going to be significant repair and renovation that's going to be needed very soon. However, the immediate need to deal with the ice cooling system, and I'll let them talk about that, but we need to buy some time to also work on the master plan and decide what we're going to be providing to this community moving forward. So this opportunity keeps that relationship alive, keeps the facility open and operating while we have that time to work on that master plan. So with that, Ken, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Corey and Steve. And I'm sorry I never say your last name because, like my dad, there are certain letters that can never come out of my mouth. But Commissioner Traeger, Chair, and Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been a few years since I've been here, mostly because I keep myself busy in other things. and the relationships that have been built have been very nice and not complicated and has made my life enjoyable. But this presentation that I have here, and I just wanted to make, there were several things that came out today, but 750,000 visitors to the fairgrounds, LEC, and I'm thinking right off the top of my head that between 5% and 7% of those go to the ice rink. This picture that we have up here on the board now is back in 2009 when we were looking at the difficulties that the ice arena had. This was at the Eugene Celebration Parade. We had lots of people show out. One person walked the parade in their ice skates the entire route. Don't know how they did that. So the facility in 2010 is when Hockey Oregon made its proposal and was accepted by then Board of Commissioners to allow us to operate that. This is brief, and forgive me if some of these slides go a little quick, but it's just they're available for you later if you'd like. But this in general is what the ice slab looks like. You have your subsurface heating loop, you have your refrigeration coil embedded in concrete, and then the ice is built on top. What has happened over the years is that there's been some frost heave that has been built up underneath the slab because the warming loops failed. Over the time, when we came in 2010, I had just come back from being a civil engineer in Alaska, registered Arctic engineer, and I could see that the frost heave was really not that bad. So we decided to make the proposal to operate the ice rink. It was accepted. There's a lot of things that go on in the system. This here is the compressors that chill the refrigerant. They require maintenance virtually every year to rebuild the cylinders, to keep them intact, to be operating as best that they can. There's multiple tasks that we have to do on a daily basis, it seems, to keep everything operational and running. That was a Zamboni. There were some walls and dividers in the lobby of the rink when we started, and we felt that opening that up would make it more inviting to our guests and be a lot more friendly. Over the course of time, using some of that Arctic engineering ideals, we came in and leveled out the slab with sand. Sand base is not an uncommon base for an ice rink as opposed to concrete. This provides a thermal mass that helps us chill the ice better and a little bit more efficiently. Since we took over and rebuilt all the compressors and keep them rebuilt, we did improve the efficiency of the chillers by about 25%, but we've maxed that out, and it's very, very old technology, and it's just out of whack. This is just an idea of what the cylinders look like on the compressor. We've suppressed the sound because this is a very, very annoying sound. And it's in a room all by itself, and we try not to go in there unless we have to attend to the compressors. There are 2 compressors in there. They're both 100-ton capacity compressors themselves. And they have, they're water cooled. They have a cooling tower, takes energy, chemicals to treat the water for the cooling tower. That's all part of the deal there. We have a natural gas Zamboni. It's actually called an Olympia, but it periodically has some difficulties, and we've really trained up Pape machinery to know all about ice resurfacing machines. At one point, there were 2 Zambonis operating. Unfortunately, one was scavenged to keep the other one rolling. That's on our list to get that replaced. In the meantime, some of the other improvements that we've done here in the rink is that we've redone the concession area, made it a lot more accessible, easier to conduct business in, and more friendly to our customers. We've also replaced the flooring in the lobby with a new modern tough flooring. The old one had shrunk and was causing difficulties for the patrons. We also, over time, over the bleachers on the east end, we installed radiant natural gas heaters to keep our folks semi-warm during events. And that's kind of what it looks like. And I'd say that that representation there is about 1% of the people that come through the rink on an annual basis. That takes us into the future, and what our needs are. We have lots of hockey classes. We have Eugene Figure Skating Club that participates. We have seasonal events, obviously, and at our public skates, we have hosted Chamber of Commerce and other community organizational events at the rink. Those heaters came in handy at those times. We also have participated with Eugene and other school districts on their STEM programs on anything to do with friction, ice, and the scientific principles around it. And this is an example of one of the STEM classes that was held at the rink. At one point in time, when we had a downtime, we did host some women's roller derby. That was quite interesting. We also host periodically the Oregon State development camps, and these are hockey players throughout the state that come to the rink and participate. This is some of the drills and evaluation process they go on. Those that are evaluated at the high end of the group get an opportunity to go to regionals. We also host Adult League, quite popular, and I'll tell you, I participate in that all the time. We also host the University of Oregon Duck Club hockey team. They are making some really positive changes lately, looking at moving up in stature within NCAA hockey. Hopefully that'll culminate in Division I team. And that being the case, they need ice to skate on, obviously. Annually, Eugene Figure Skating Club puts on annual Christmas show. That is very, very well attended, and also as donation for Food for Lane County and other activities as well. Again, Adult League, just can't tell you how much fun it is. And it allows me to, keep this really, really slim figure. We've even hosted a wedding at the rink. During COVID, we had some challenges And we tried to meet those. We've had celebrations of the 30 years of the ice rink being in operation, and we have a lot of youth classes that are going on now. I think the Eugene Figure Skating Club currently has 150 people signed up for their Learn to Skate program, and we must have, how many in the academy?
It's a little 8-week period, it's about 50.
50 in the 8-week period. So we're quite active here. Public skate is big, especially from November through February, and that brings us to current status. Current status is that the equipment is 34 years old. We've rebuilt it, I think, as much as we can rebuild it. We're having trouble making and maintaining the ice. The immediate needs is to replace the compressors and the ice coil system so that we can continue to make ice. We're wanting to do that in order to cover all of the bases for all those people that we showed you in previous slides. We have a lot of growth initiatives in our back pocket that we'd like to bring out. We need ice. We definitely need to end the reliance on the current system. Go ahead. Let's see, part 2, part 3, operations plan. Let's go. Okay, so the new modern chillers. We can replace those 2 100-ton each chillers with one 100-ton chiller. This is air-cooled, does not require water for cooling, doesn't require the chemicals that go with it. It can remove all of that issue to it. And the main thing that is important to know about this is that it uses propylene glycol, which is a food-grade glycol system, as the refrigerant. And it'll remove the R22 Freon system that we currently have. And it's a lot more efficient. The refrigeration coils have come a long way from stainless steel tubing and concrete to being mats that can be laid out and assembled fairly rapidly. These pictures that you see here, we have associates that have the Tacoma Twin Rinks, and we helped participate in the installation of their ice system when they were coming into being about 5 years ago. They have 2 sheets of ice, and they operated on a 120?
The 2-sheet size was 200 tons.
Okay, 200. So they've got 2 of these type of compressors. And that's kind of what it looked like that. They had a sand base underneath theirs, and we won't have that. We are looking to do that as well. We have scoped out all of the materials and the components for it. We have expertise in putting it together, along with the vendor that is supplying that, and we're ready to pull the trigger and go. What we were looking for is a little bit longer than a year-to-year lease to make the investment worthwhile. The project cost we're looking at is $500,000. And we, of course, and with the donations can be sent to. In the meantime, we established the Frozen Ice Sports 501c3 nonprofit, initially to look at long-term funding and help with keeping the rink open. But with these problems that are occurring now, it's moved into a 2-phase thing. So we're trying to address the immediate problems now and look to the long term later. Frozen Ice Sports is well on its way to raising the money. At this point, what we're asking the county commissioners is an approval of a 5-year lease with hopefully with the 2-year extensions in there. Mindful of what's happening with the master plan, but it also gives us something to do with return on investment. Obviously, and some longevity, especially some hope for those who donate. And that is all we're asking for. We are not asking for money. We're not asking for basically anything else. We just want to get the old stuff out and the new stuff in, and we want to get it all done and over with and open up in September. And I think that's all I can say for you now. Hopefully that wasn't too rapid or not enough. Anyways, I'm open for questions.
Mr. Buller, did you want to add anything before I turn it over to the board for discussion?
Yep.
All right, to the board then. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate seeing all the pictures. Normally slides are filled with words, and I struggle whether to read the words or listen to you. So I really enjoyed the presentation this way, and seeing all the different activities. I fully support the request. I would have given you more time than that if you had asked, because you're putting $500,000 in, and you need to be able to recover that investment. And hockey's and figure skating and all that you've done at the ice rink has been around for so long. It's very well established with a good following, and I am with you. So.
Well, thank you for that. We did ask for more, but we also are mindful of the considerations of the master plan. So if you will, I'll coin a old saying that we hope that we're the camel's nose in the tent, and that a few years from now, we'll have a longer lease.
Thank you, Chair.
Vice Chair?
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at it. I haven't heard that one in a long time, Ken. That was really great. Hey, thank you, Ken, for all you've done. You and I have had coffee a couple of times, talked about this, and I appreciate not only your wisdom and passion, but also your construction sense to the whole thing and just your business sense to it. And I'm totally supportive of this. I see it through your camel's nose in the tent, if you will. I'd love to see us at some point build 2 hockey rinks. I think there's a lot of emergency preparedness things that can go with those 2 pieces of real estate. And so I'm fully in support of this, and I'm glad that you're getting at least a 5 and some more extensions. And I hope we can, at the end of this, have something clear and visionary for you to continue on. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Mr. Seneca.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. That was great. I've got 2 nephews, soon to be 3, that play hockey, and I can't explain to you how fun it is to watch them skating around and watching as their tempers rise and come back down. It's really a fun, interesting sport. I wasn't as lucky as Moger Heisky here to grow up ice skating or playing hockey, excuse me. But it is a great sport and a lot of fun. I have a question. What's the next closest ice rink for teams traveling?
North is Sherwood in Portland. East is Bend, and south is Medford.
Wow.
Yeah, and that raises a point. We talked about visitors to the ice rink. We have people that come 1, 2, and 3 times a week from Coos Bay, Roseburg, Salem. We've got several people now coming down from Portland to skate at our rink. So it's not just Eugene, Springfield, or Lane County residents that are coming. We've got quite a catchment net. Bend built their rink, outdoor rink. Doesn't work so good when it's sunny. They rent ice from Eugene in October and November until their ice is ready. So they travel over here to skate. And also, to that point, I've got 2 grandsons that have started playing in the academy, so hopefully that'll go well. And then they can torment their parents, because that's what my son did to me, and that's why I'm sitting here now.
Oh, we appreciate it. And it's interesting to hear. But and then this last weekend I met with some participants in one of the dog clubs, and I guess they use your facility also for part of their scent training or something. And they were talking about how interesting it was to have their dogs out there doing the scent training, and then the ice is melting because when you guys are down and the noises it's making. And so I mean, you guys are making a big impact on a lot of different people in our community. I think that's it for now. I was curious who sharpened the guy's skates after he walked the.
He wore skate guards.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. All right, thanks.
Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. You know, Steve, you said something to me the other day that really rang true. You only see what you've seen. You only know what you've seen. You don't know what you haven't seen. And I wonder how many people here have been recently inside the ice arena. I've been to circuses in there, looking around. Good. So more than half the people have been in there. But really, why would you go there if you don't skate? Well, I can see lots of reasons. I saw the pictures of there. There are hundreds and hundreds of reasons for me to take my grandkids there. So it's fascinating. You know, when I came to America, my best friend in junior high school, Tillamook Junior High, had played with the Saanich Pups in Alaska. You were from Alaska, right? Or you were in Alaska for a while.
Well,
He was a hockey player. Saanich is a little town adjacent to Anchorage. And he took me to hockey games up at up at Lloyd Center, is where I'd see a lot of the games. But there were all kinds of arenas all around the Portland area, and I thought ice hockey was everywhere because I was exposed to it on a regular basis. Came down here, I came to Eugene in '73, and really it was news to me when the ice arena in 2010, 2011, when there was a big hubbub about that ice arena. I was on the Eugene City Council for my third term at the time. And I didn't really know there was an ice arena here. So if I hadn't seen it, so it wasn't on my front burner. But the more I see and the more I hear about it, and the more I hear that there are organized leagues where people really love the sport. People come from Bend and all over to this one ice arena that really has nothing nearby. It's a fascinating story that you tell, and it's one that I think is intriguing enough to where in the future I can see us maybe needing twin ice, just like Tacoma. You know, I mean, it's pretty popular. Ms. Mogorowski, you grew up in what I would, and others might call the frozen Midwest, or North. Tundra. And so you had outdoor ice, and you know how wonderful an experience it is, not just hockey, not just competitive sports, but just being on the ice. It's fascinating. Your presentation was just the right length, but I hope we can get the slides, if you could send those to the board. Thanks very much for this great presentation.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Seneca wanted to add?
Yeah, I just had a quick follow-up on the procedure. So, you know, I'm in support, just like to say that, but do you have to remove the concrete and all the piping, or are you able to just go right over the top with your overlay?
No, we didn't include that slide, but what we're going to do is we're going to build a stem wall, which is non-structural. So it's just like pouring a step going up, so it'll be about 8 inches tall. And that then we'll raise the boards up, and then we'll be able to have that space there for a little bit more leveling sand to put the coils in, and then have the space for the ice. Typically, your ice sheet is, let's say, 1.5 inches, somewhere between an inch and a half thick. Because of what we have here, we've got variations of up to 8 inches, and that's very inefficient. So I think what we learned based on that, putting that in and putting in this new system here, we're looking at probably a 25 or 30% improvement yet in efficiency on a system that's half the size. So,
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and being so forward-thinking. Probably 20 years ago now, my son played ice hockey in that rink. I grew up on the East Coast, so I grew up skating on frozen ponds, which are really lumpy and really hard to skate on. And it is a unique facility, and as you mentioned, there's nothing else like it. There's no real alternative to this facility anywhere nearby. I was curious at the U of O, I wasn't aware they had an ice hockey team. Do they make a financial contribution to your organization? Do they pay, or is it a rent? How does that work?
For an organization like that, they essentially buy ice time. So that's, yes, and through the club sports system at this point. So for their games, their practices, et cetera, we're looking to improve some locker room facilities for them to make it a little bit more solid for them, so that they will invest more. But hopefully, with any luck, they will rise in the system, and it'll be big time.
Great. And just to be clear, and for the record, this changes nothing to the footprint or landscape at Lane Event Center, this request. There's no other non-ice use of the facility. It's strictly for your, the purposes of being an ice rink.
Correct. And everything that we do in there is related to ice sports. But I think Commissioner Lovell mentioned something about emergency services and whatnot, maybe in the future, but it does have some potential. Currently, we do take the ice out for 3 months, plus or minus, in the summer due to basic usage, weather, et cetera. So it's not like it doesn't have the potential for something, but currently and from our perspective, it'll be ice sports related.
Great job forming a C3 to do some fundraiser. I'm waiting for the movie showing of Frozen as you're skating while you watch that movie. Fundraiser would probably be a big hit. I can't see a reason not to be supportive. I'm fully supportive. You're not asking the county for money. You're increasing efficiency of operations. You're decreasing the use of toxic chemicals. You're improving the conditions of a resource and an asset for the community. So fully supportive. And I'm just noting in our packet that the follow-up recommendation is to have you come back to us with your operational plans once you've put all the other pieces in place, but you need this piece to start you down that road and get the equipment purchased. So without any further questions or comments from the board, anything else from staff? Then we do have before us an order, number 24-03-05-04, in the matter of approving a 5-year lease agreement with Hockey Oregon LLC. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Chair, I'd like to move to approve a 5-year lease agreement along with the contractual extension terms with Hockey Oregon LLC for operations in the Lane County Ice Arena as per order 24-03-05-04.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Lovell and seconded by Commissioner Farr. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and we are available to talk about the master plan as well. So, because we'd like to see a number of things happen there, the M's, the ice, the whatever is in there. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Moving on to item 7, County Administration. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mokrzycki.
I think we have item
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I
7B
didn't turn the
or
page.
7A, yeah.
Got to work on where the
Traveling
page breaks
County.
happen on our agendas. Thank you. County Administration, item A, a report from Travel Lane County, the semi-annual report. And I'll welcome Carrie Westland, President and CEO of Travel Lane County, and Andy Vobora to the table. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Note to Tanya, while we're getting our materials, let's work on the page breaks for our agendas. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Trieger, Commissioners, Administrator Mokrzycki. That was amazing. Thank you for your support of hockey, and it's always amazing to be here with you. We always learn a lot when we're in this room. You have amazing jobs. So I want to start by just introducing board members and staff members who are with me here this morning. I see Mike Drennan, longtime member of the board, Dana Terrell, who is our current board chair. We've got a number of staff in back. Our sports commission team is here, led by J.B. Carney with Ella Perez, Kate and Phyllis, and then we've got Natalie Inoue and Emily Forche here. And anybody else that I missed? Thanks for coming, you guys. This is our semi-annual report for FY24. And I want to just start, yesterday our staff team visited the Holt Center for the Performing Arts. We took our whole staff over and we essentially had our staff meeting there. And manager Jeff Weinkoff walked our staff team through the history of the Holt Center. And it prompted a story to our staff team about how we began operations in 1980. It was just a few years after you implemented your first transient lodging tax of 5%. which you did to fund the construction of the Lane Event Center. So I used this history chart to do my notes, and that's why I brought this history document with me for you today, because it just reminded me of some of the synergies that we were hearing from Jeff around the operations of the HULT, which receives lodging tax. Now that all of its bonded indebtedness has long since been retired, it gets some lodging tax for its operations, similar to the Lane Event Center, where we used lodging tax to get it built, and now there's some swooping of funds to the Lane Event Center for operations and maintenance. The other thing that was happening in 1980 when we started operations was that the HULT Center was under construction. So that's why that was relevant. And the Eugene Conference Center was under construction. The cities were allowed to trigger your ordinance and actually keep some of your 5% tax. The cities can keep 3 of that original 5, and of course Eugene and Springfield did that right away and added up another point onto their systems, and Eugene used its lodging tax to help construct the HULT Center and the Eugene Conference Center, which is publicly owned. We came along specifically as a lodging tax investment tool to help fill all these facilities up and leverage them, and we're funded to help grow lodging tax and help grow the tourism economy. So we came to life at the same time as these major facilities that were being funded by the county and by the city, and they really are the last major facilities other than the Florence Event Center, opened in 1995, funded by lodging tax. They're the last major facility investments from lodging tax all these years later. And now here you are on the precipice of another lodging tax increase and the opportunity to invest in the future again. And I can't imagine life without the Lane Event Center. I can't imagine it without the HULT Center for the Performing Arts, and I can't imagine it without the Eugene Conference Center. So in the early 90s, the hotels, we were funded by Eugene, by Springfield, and by you. In 1986, just a few years later, you implemented a 1% increase, and that was to fund countywide tourism marketing. We'd been formed as a Eugene Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau, focused on these big metro area facilities. You had a much broader geographic area to serve. You added a 1-point increase. That's when your Visitor Services Fund was born. And you appointed an advisory committee. You gave those funds to us to market all of Lane County. So we came to you each year. You've provided funding to us, and each of the metro cities provided funding to us. And we did 3 budget presentations, and it was quite the circuit. And by the end of June, we would know each year what our budget was going to be for the coming year. So in the early 90s, the hotel sector came to you and said, raise the county tax by 2 points, add it to that original point, give 3 points to the Eugene Springfield CVB, reform it as a countywide organization, and that's what happened. Working with you and the 2 cities, we revised our bylaws. We became the Convention and Visitors Association of Lane County, Oregon. 20% of our 30 voting seats are held by local government. And so you control 2 of those seats. Commissioner Lovell is our current rep. Commissioner Farr was our rep for a long time. The 2 cities have elected leaders on our board. The Lane Event Center has a seat on our board, and the University of Oregon has 2. And then in our 10 advisory seats that are really voluntary, we thought it was a good idea to have more glue. Most of those are held by local government staff. So experts in economic development or city managers or the Florence Event Center manager serve on the board as ex officio members. And that's how we've been operating. When we got to that discussion, just like this discussion, it was a long, protracted, everybody engaged discussion. Not easy when you're raising revenue, raising lodging tax, everybody weighed in. And by the end of the discussion, we didn't get the full 3 points. We got 70% of 3 points, and that is the genesis of 2.1 points. That's where the 2.1 points came from. That's written into our grant agreement with you, because it was 70% of that original 1 and then the 2 more. And then there were a few carve-outs. One is for the Lane County History Museum. Your formal collection gets 10% of that Visitor Services Fund. 10% goes back out to the rural communities on a pro rata basis. So Florence and the coast gets the most because they raise the most in the in rural Lane County. And then 10% went to project grants for many years, and now it goes to your Economic Development Fund, and it's used for tourism-related projects on an as-needed basis. But that, I was telling the staff this story yesterday, and I thought, you know, I should tell the commissioners this story too, because it really kind of gives the background of our history and this mysterious 2.1 points that we're always talking about, and how that really came to be. So we come to you twice a year under a rolling 3-year grant, which has been in place since about 2016. And each fall, when we come back to report out the full year results, we ask for a 1-year extension to that rolling grant. That takes us to between 2.5 and 3 years. And the reason for that structure is so that we can execute multi-year contracts in good faith. We are not just funded on a one-year basis. We don't get to the hard end of a term with a few months left to go to then restart it again. And so I feel like that has worked very well. It was actually Administrator Mokrzycki's idea, and it seems like it's worked pretty smoothly for all of us. We're a nationally accredited destination marketing and management organization. I'm nationally accredited as a certified destination marketing executive. We have 2 other senior members of our team who are very close to being nationally certified as destination marketing executives. We're also active with the national organization Travel Ability as a destination ally, and that means we're focused on accessibility and accommodating travelers. It's really around destination readiness to make sure things are in place so that people of all abilities can come and have an enjoyable time here, and you'll hear a little bit more about some of the work we've been doing further into the presentation. So in the big picture, overall, over all these years, since 1997, we've seen overall growth on an annual basis and in every month of the year, with the macro event exceptions of 9/11, when everything stopped and everything dropped off, the 08-09 tech and housing bubble bursts, and then the COVID pandemic. Other than those major events that impacted the entire world, we've seen pretty steady growth. Lodging tax actually did go up once during this time frame, but only at the coast. And sort of ironically, it went into place July 1st of 2008, so right at the beginning of FY09, which is in the light blue bar, and that's also right when the economy tanked because of the dot-com bubble and the housing issues. And so it doesn't really show, but it could have been worse, I guess, if we hadn't had that little bit of increase at the coast. And you can see in these small charts that curve that we talk about all the time, busy in summer, concave in winter. Certainly, track and field has really helped grow those summer months even more, and that is a very lucrative sports niche for us, and one that is worth working very hard to protect. It's a great reputation builder. It builds destination reputation, and we're bringing a lot of revenue in through that sport during those summer months. This chart is through FY22, so it doesn't reflect the new 2% lodging tax that was added in January of 2023. Our work at Travel Lane County certainly does not draw every visitor here or every visitor dollar. Our work is part of the overall revenue picture. We do, as the only organization that's really charged with tracking the industry, we do report out industry health, and we report it out to you alongside our program reports. Because most facilities are in the metro area, including hotel rooms, the majority of transient lodging tax is generated here, 74 to 77% each year. And that's why when you raised that lodging tax way back in 1993, you released Eugene and Springfield from their direct funding responsibilities to us, because a lot of the money is generated in the metro area, so they were helping raise the funding for us when that tax increase went up back at that time. The one interesting thing about this chart that I like to point out to you is that Florence is showing about 7%, and this is within the city limits of these cities because they have local jurisdiction taxes that are tracked, shows about 7% of TLT revenue in the city limits. You've got a big chunk of the coast in that other category, and the Mackenzie River corridor also makes up a pretty good amount of that. But the interesting thing about the coastal economy is it really generates about 22 or 23% of overall visitor spending, because there is a lot of commerce taking place in the tourism sector in Florence that's day-based recreation. Dune buggy rides, visiting Heceta Head Lighthouse, going to Sea Lion Caves, visiting and patronizing Old Town. So it looks very modest here, but it's actually a major, major sector of the county's overall tourism economy. Once those dollars come in visitors' pockets, they spread across several economic sectors, with food and beverage being the highest percentage. And of course, this is visitor spending from all visitors, not just those staying in commercial accommodations. The key policy framework for you is that restaurants, tasting rooms, and even packaged food stores get the majority of their revenue from residents, but in some cases as much as 30% of their revenue from visitors. Revenue that they could not survive without, even though they may not see themselves and we may not think of all of them as tourism businesses. But 30% of a revenue pie is a pretty good chunk, particularly if you're talking about restaurants, tasting rooms, low margins in many cases. And so that 30% number is pretty high, and it makes visitors an important part of their health, even though they're not straight up tourism businesses. Our FY24 budget was built on estimated TLT revenue of just over $3.6 million to us. So that's what we projected that 2.1 would be for the FY24 year, minus admin fees that get deducted for staff time at each level processing those revenues. Our total revenue of just over $4 million. So very, very dependent on that lodging tax. A lodging tax investment tool, essentially, is what we are. Our budgeted allocations against programs shows tourism marketing's power to build reputation. We're putting a lot of money into the reputation building of those broad marketing and advertising programs that are run from our tourism department, and that reputation building does support the more business-to-business focus of our sports marketing and conventions. So 3 key target markets for us. Our integrated marketing program is providing all of our base platforms, our customer relationship databases, our website, our content libraries of video and photography, our brand management, and our internal creative services. Stakeholder relations, which Andy oversees, includes our destination development work, our membership and stakeholder relationships, our reporting and communications, and our public affairs work. We've seen some softening in room demand in the current year, and our hotel supply is down even a little bit more. So one of the keys on these hotel metrics is that occupancy, and we often look immediately to hotel occupancy to see how we're doing, can be a little bit misleading sometimes because it's made up of both supply and demand. And we've had some rooms go out of the market. We have the Valley River Inn still offline, and we've had room demand down, but not as much as supply. So it looks, if you just look at the occupancy number, you think everything's going great. But we've had some demand softening, and so we're working hard to try and get that demand back up. And we saw it start in the fall. We're not alone, but still that's the number we're always focused on, is how much room demand is there? Are we growing visitor demand for rooms? At the very same time, the hotel sector rates are, yes.
Question from the board. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to clarify with the room demand, does that include like Airbnb? Because those are alternative rooms.
It's a very good question, and we've broken out hotel and short-term rentals for you. So you can see room demand on that lower chart, that's vacation rentals. And we're lucky to have good data providers. They didn't exist about 10 years ago, but now we've got a number of vendors to choose from to purchase this kind of data from. So we buy data from Smith Travel Research on the hotel sector to watch industry health, and we buy data from AirDNA on the vacation rental sector. So they're broken out for you, and it's very interesting, particularly as we host these gigantic events, and you'll see the vacation rentals stock just, go way up, and then you'll see it contract again.
And do they pay part of the TLT funding as well?
They do.
Great.
If they're following the law, they are remitting TLT.
And I imagine you also have this broken out regionally, so we could see where, or do you?
It's a good question. I think we can do it.
Or for hotels?
For all of it.
For hotels, we get breakdowns for Eugene, Springfield, Florence, and then all of Lane County, and then we're tracking like Salem, Boise, Spokane as our
These are our
competitive set.
local, these are Lane County numbers.
These are county-wide
And
numbers.
so do you have that for the short-term rentals as well? So you can show what parts of the county the short-term rental
Yes,
and decreases?
and we could show supply.
Great.
Yeah, so as you're having discussions about that, and you and anybody can call us for data. So we're happy to share the data that we have.
And I would say on the TLT payments is the platforms with some of the state law changes that happened in recent times. I mean, it all gets collected through the platforms now. So it's not quite the Wild West that it was before, and we were hoping that they were paying their taxes. Now it's all collected and remitted by the organization.
It's super interesting with vacation rentals too, because when you look at vacation rentals really broadly, like everywhere, like if you're traveling and you use vacation rentals, the prices have really gone up a lot. But when you look at our data set right now, and you're comparing this to the last couple of seasons where Hayward Field has been on fire and the average daily rate has been, a big balloon, it's actually, you see those average daily rates on vacation rentals are actually a little bit softer in our market, even though they're probably still pretty strong, but they've come down because of the compression that happens when we have those big events and then rates go up across these two suppliers. Our KPIs in tourism marketing for the first 6 months, and remember this is a 6-month report, mid-year, so ended December 31st. They've been really strong and solid, and we've also in this year really opened our messaging up to locals even more. We are trying to do two things. We are trying to make sure the people who live here know how many wonderful things there are to experience and patronize nearby within the county. And we're trying to build destination evangelists. If you come across a visitor on the street and they ask you what they should see while they're in Oregon, we don't want you to send them to Bend. We want you to send them to West Fur or to the Mackenzie River Trail or over to the coast. And so residents are our pathway to doing that, expanding our hospitality culture, and that extends to people who live here and people who visit here. So we've really allowed our social media streams and our advertising to be seen more locally than we have historically. Our primary responsibility is to bring new money into the county economy, but a dollar spent from Springfield in Oak Ridge or at the coast is still a valuable dollar to Oak Ridge and the coast. And so we've really adopted, it's still the vast majority, as you can see, is outside the area, but we've adopted a little bit of a nuanced approach to make sure that the people who live here really know about this great place that they live. On the convention side, we confirmed 16 conventions in the first 6 months of the year, and that's really without Valley River Inn, so we're really, really, really looking forward to having that property back. The size of these conventions remains a little bit smaller on average than pre-pandemic, but we're starting to sense growth coming back. And our work on introducing new prospects through our e-newsletter and our website content was really strong. It can take 2 to 5 years to land a convention. It's not done on the basis of an ad. It's not done on the basis of a single trade show visit. It's an iterative relationship specification meeting process, and it's got a lot of steps, and it's a long game. Same on the sports side.
Do you have any estimate on Valley River, or do they have an estimate on reopening?
I don't know that we have a current estimate. I know it's going to be a little later than we originally thought. We're scrambling a little bit with some of the big events coming in to make sure everybody's got a place to stay. We'd hoped they'd be open pre-summer. Not happening. I don't know that we have a definitive date yet. I know they're hard at work, and I know it's going to be fantastic. So on the sports side, 15 sports events confirmed in the 6-month period, and considerably larger, of course, and when you're adding in all the participants, and also strong prospecting work. I want to really give a shout out to JB and his team, because we have 2 events coming back this year national events that were booked into market last year that had such a great experience here that they rebooked right away. And that just simply doesn't happen. They called up within a short period of time of having held their events here. One was the Lumberjack Nationals BMX event on the track over by Autzen, and the other was a major rowing regatta out on Dexter Lake, and they're bringing everybody back in. And the testimonials from people last summer, the beauty of Dexter Lake, we brought a multi-disc golf course, sort of a progressive. They just cannot believe how beautiful it is here. So the sports team's been doing a great work. And you know we see sports as a pathway to winter visitor demand as well. And you may have heard the news this morning that we just announced the formation of the Travel Lane County Charitable Fund. That's a separate 501c3 corporation. We formed it to support public benefit projects, that magic where a project is going to serve local residents and also make this a great place to visit and help us draw visitors. The first gift announced is $50,000 to the regional pickleball facility being developed by the Emerald Valley Pickleball Foundation at Lane Community College. You're supporting that project as well. We just took our whole staff team over to Kids Sports last week and learned how to play pickleball because most of us had never played pickleball. But with 24 lit courts, 10 undercover, one of the largest complexes in the Pacific Northwest, will be able to attract pickleball tournaments to year-round from this super fast-growing sport. And at the same time, that facility will be available to residents free of charge every day for them to play pickleball. So truly a public benefit project that we're going to leverage as an economic development tool as well. It's a win-win. We're very excited about it. I was listening to this morning's presentation by the hockey folks as well. I think that's another project that might be a great fit for us. So I'm really interested in seeing if we can help them with the fundraising they need to do. The other thing we're working on in sports is we're really kind of gearing up some advocacy around the Golden Gardens build-out. That's a number of baseball, softball, and soccer fields. It's going to be a fantastic complex. It's hitting a few bumps, got some issues to work on around protecting turtles and what to do about turf. And so we're actually taking a bus down to Medford. They've got one of the biggest complexes. They've got both outdoor facilities and indoor, so we're loading up a bus at the end of the month. Some of you have emails from us to see if you're interested in going or who might be good to go on behalf of Lane County, and it might be really well timed with the master plan work coming up to just go down and take a look and talk. The city manager's going to spend a couple hours with us, and they're going to just walk us through how the heck they got these incredible facilities built, what kind of revenue they're driving from them. So we really welcome participation from you and Lane County staff. Turning to stakeholder relations, that group has done amazing work within the accessibility realm, and we've worked to get hearing loops installed across the county. We budgeted about $20,000 for this work, and then we secured a $50,000 grant from Travel Oregon, and we've got hotel front desks looped. We've got theater performing arts centers looped. Wildish is in the process of being looped over in Springfield, visitor centers, retail, restaurants, and museums and attractions. We're really proud of this work. It gets us into some marketing channels at the national level around accessibility metrics, and it's just a growing population. You know, the reality is we're all going to need some form of accommodation, likely, one kind or another. We boomers are getting older, and this is a big economic target, and it's also just the right darn thing to do. People who live here and people who visit here, we want them to have the best experiences that they can possibly have. The other thing that stakeholder relations has worked on in this 6-month period is working with our board of directors to change up our membership. We now have a $0 associate membership. So every business that serves visitors within any of your districts can come onto our platform and leverage our marketing tools for free. They can still buy up, they can still be a paid member, they can still buy a higher suite of services, but we want every restaurant on the platform, when visitors or residents come to our site, and we have a ton of resident traffic too, and they're looking for places to patronize, we want that information to be as comprehensive as possible. So help us share the word, make sure that businesses in your district know we have a $0 connection for them, and we're happy to work with them and get them on the platform. We're really excited about this work. In integrated marketing, that's our content workhorse. producing high-quality video, blogs, photos, and then getting them delivered through our website and through our marketing programs. We brought just two quick examples because we're super proud of the work. The first is an example, and they're not audio dependent, so don't panic that you can't hear them. This one was played in Hayward Field during the big track meets to make sure that visitors who are coming in from around the world, which they've done a few times, can see other things to see and do in the county and help get those people out from an event, a concentrated event that might draw them here, but we want to make sure that they're getting out and patronizing. The second is our latest vertical video that's showing up in social media. It's based on one of our most popular ever blogs, and it is really about places in Lane County that are very much like other places, that are reminiscent of other places around the world, and just making sure that people can see the incredible variety. You can see even Mars, not even international, but out in outer space. So this has been just super popular content, and this video just took right off, just right out of the bat. So overall, at mid-year, we are feeling good. We're working on plans for FY25. That includes the board hiring a new CEO. I'll be back before you one more time in the fall to kind of wrap up the fiscal year, and I want to express my appreciation to you as commissioners and to Lane County staff for the strong partnership and investment. We feel a very strong sense of stewardship, this history that I shared with you at the beginning of my presentation. We have a stake in the future economic health of Lane County. We feel connected to you. You've been our funder for many, many years. And of course, we're especially connected to TLT and what kind of returns that generates. Growth in TLT is good for a lot of programs, and it's good for a lot of jurisdictions throughout the county, at both the county and city levels. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I want to thank you again for the opportunity to present today, and thank Andy for running the show.
Thank you so much for the presentation. To the board, questions, comments? Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. You know, Carrie, when you come and make the presentations, I always wonder how you're going to condense everything into the amount
I'm sorry if I was long.
You weren't. You had a few questions in the middle, but, and, you know, there are so many things to talk about, so many victories, so many positive things that are happening. First thing I'm going to mention is something that I hear all the time. My sister, Lorna Davis, is the global sales manager for Travel Oregon. Every time I talk to her, she asks how you are, and she talks about how Travel Lane County is so instrumental in bringing people to what she calls the second most popular overseas region in Oregon.
Excellent.
In fact, I think sometimes she says the Columbia Gorge and right here in Travel Lane County.
I like that the global sales manager has a brother on the Lane County Board of Commissioners. So I'm just going to flip that a little bit and just, you're the point of leverage, so.
Well, I'm in her shadow. Lorna Davis is a pretty, my baby sister. But that being said, you know, my work with Travel Lane County goes back a lot of years, and every year you seem to take it to another step. I'm really particularly impressed with the no-fee use of the ever-expanding services you're able to provide to the people in the lodging industry here in Lane County. It just that I didn't know that was happening. I've not been on the board for a couple of years. Spent 10 years with you on that board. But the last thing I'm going to mention, you know, there's so many things to talk about. I'm really excited to hear what other commissioners have to say. But April 19th, 1995 was a big day for a couple of reasons, but I'm only going to talk about one of them. That was the day I first got on the board of CVALCO, appointed by Ruth Bascom, on that date in 1995.
Awesome.
So a little bit of history there.
Going to note that on our calendars, aren't we?
And, you know, look around the room at some of your board members. Mike Drennan's out there. Mike also served on the board of Food for Lane County. Thank you for that service. Dana Turrell was my development manager at Food for Lane County when I first started there. So you're just deep roots in the community, and I'm just proud to be associated with you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Seneca.
Yes, thank you. I love that video because you're always asked. People are here for, you know, I'm going to bring up dog events again. The guy just stopped me at the gas station the other day and was out of town, and we were talking about it. And what do I do while I'm here? And I mean, that's got to be a huge hit with the mileage. And it's, Brandy and I, years ago, decided, why are we traveling so much when there's so much to do local? think Commissioner Farr can attest to that. I do have a question. I didn't hear anything about the indoor track or sports complex.
Well, we still think it's a great idea. I do want to just remind you that we were working on this project in Springfield. We really looked it over for its returns, and some of that's public benefit returns, some of it's economic returns, but we really fell in love with the project because it gets people here active and engaged in a wide variety of activities. It hit the public safety and emergency shelter, and it certainly hit the winter tournaments. But our intent was always to bring that project to life in partnership with local government, not ram it down local government's throats, really. And when it didn't work out in Springfield at the transfer site, because of timing and just how to get it done, and we started looking at the Lane Event Center, we thought that project would be evaluated as part of a number of projects evaluated through the master plan. And then we'd all see what's the best fit at the fairgrounds and for TLT. We're strongly advocating for investment of TLT in things that will help fill that concave nature, and we worked on raising TLT before it ever came to you. It was our work in advocating for an increase for the indoor facility that was brought to you to raise TLT. We created the documents that looked at the competitive set, and we felt as an industry we could bear an increase, and we brought the hotels along by saying it'll get invested in something that generates a return, and it'll grow the overall economy, and the hotels were on board. So that return, that ability to grow TLT itself is going to help support whatever you build with it potentially. So if you need an operating revenue stream, well, and you invest it well, you're going to have an increment of TLT to help fill early gaps in the early years when maybe whatever you build isn't making a net. It needs 3 years to get up to speed. And if it's drawing more visitors, you're going to not only have the visitor spending in the economy and the current tax rate, you're going to have that new tax revenue too. So we still believe that is a great project. We've advocated for convention space for 30 years. We just feel that this indoor sports tournament space is more recession-proof. It will live through economic cycles more effectively. Convention space will ebb and flow a little bit with the macroeconomics. And our kids never rest, right? We've got our kids engaged in healthy activity, and when the world's bleak, we got them doing even more. So we'll use every last dime we have to keep our kids active. So I don't know if I've answered your question. We have not. We still love the indoor tournament facility. We feel very strongly that it's a win, where we are respectful of your decision-making process. It's really your decision on how TLT gets invested, and we've given you the benefit of our expertise and our wisdom and our advocacy, and now it's really up to you to decide.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Again, great presentation. Always a pleasure to work with you, Carrie. And I'm just kind of thinking in my soul, there's going to be some very big shoes to fill in a few months, and we're going to miss you for sure. I think you said something that really kind of resonated with me today. You said $1 spent in Oak Ridge or the coast is still a valuable $1 spent in the county. And I think going forward, as far as a tourism entity and Board of County Commissioners and all the big decisions that we have before us, I think that's the main motto, mantra that I'll take with me, that, what we need to make sure that $1 spent is good for the county and not just for the metro area. And I think that's really well done. And again, your great videos. I love the Scotland connection and the Mars connection. Every time I drive up to Mackenzie, it's like, gosh, wouldn't it be great if you could have like little spacemen enter training for NASA? But that's a whole nother project. But thank you for all you go do. And Andy and JB,
they did train before the first moonwalk in 1968. D. Wright's where they trained. They brought the astronauts here before they went to the moon the first time. True story.
Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate all the institutional knowledge that you have all these years of doing this work and being able to really help us give that broader picture of the history. That was really helpful for me and didn't have that before. So thank you very much for that. And it will be a loss when you do retire, but.
I'm staying right here, though, not like that Commissioner Bozovich guy who just left for Tennessee. I'm here.
We will know how to reach you. Again, very much appreciate that. Just broader historical timeline and understanding of what has happened with the TLT over time, and what large investments have been done, although it sounds very rare that this comes along. And now we have perhaps a variety of different options in front of us to consider. Interestingly enough, this weekend, I was able to attend the annual gymnastics meet that is in town. My daughter loves gymnastics. So it was at Bob Kiefer Center. They have far outgrown Bob Kiefer Center. So they have to now limit the amount of kids that are signing up to come compete with each other. There were 1,800 competitive entries. And if you think about how many additional parents and families are coming to actually visit and watch their kid compete, it's a lot of people, and they're unable to grow in Lane County. There's not a larger venue for them that is adequate. For me, of course, this begs for additional convention space that can accommodate indoor sports, and a variety of different kinds and of a size that can actually host something. And you're absolutely right, you know, parents will do whatever they can to, you know, make their kiddos happy. So when I consider what we can do at the fairgrounds, like my mind races. There's so many things that we could do there. You know, we're limited by resources and time. But there's such a big, broader vision that I think that we all could have in the space that we do have. And I would hope that, you know, the group at Travel Lane is thinking about that very broadly as well, because our funding is probably only enough, at least right now, for one bid project at a time, and that could take some years to recoup funding and do another project. So trying to line up what those could be in a pipeline is very interesting to me, an interesting concept to really think through in the cycle of Lane County, its tourism and its activities for its community. So I'm glad you're part of, and your organization is part of those broader visions. What I don't want to see is particular groups competing against those projects, like what one works now and what can be in the pipeline for the next one, and the next one is really a vision I would like to see.
I really appreciate that, and I'm happy to volunteer as a citizen too, if it's helpful. But I just would encourage you to think about that return. So your early projects need to help grow that TLT. That helps you do more projects. So it's really a critical component of growing the tool that you're using to create these projects. And the other thing I would like to say, if I may, is this concept of gymnastics, OSAA, the 1 through 6A spring track and field high school meets is another great example of this. When we're hosting youth tournaments of any sport that are bringing Oregonians in from all over the state, they're buying refrigerators, they're buying cars. Those families that come in with their kids are making major household purchases while they're here. This is an annual trip to the city. They don't even want to go to Portland in many cases because it's too big a city. But they're comfortable here, and they make major investments for their families while they're here watching their kids compete in these sports.
It's interesting you say that, because in this gymnastics scenario, there are teams coming from Canada, all over Oregon and Northern California. This is a big meet for our region in the Northwest, and to be able to accommodate larger venues would bring in a lot of income to the area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You said you're going to be back before us one more time, right?
Well,
Okay. Well,
thank
then
you.
Thank
Thank you
that's
very
an
much.
opportunity then to talk about your stellar work. Thank you so much for the presentation. And that concludes that item. It was just a report, no action needed. So now county administration announcements, Mr. Mokahysky.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. I just have maybe 3 minutes of announcements. Wanted to give you an update on our emergency response work, particularly in the aftermath of the ice storm. So over the past several weeks, we've had joint meetings with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the Oregon Department of Emergency Management staff that have been in town, meeting with our various public utility partners, our cities, our special districts to complete the preliminary damage assessment process. This preliminary damage assessment process is needed to support the governor's request for a presidential disaster declaration. All the indicators continue to support that we are very likely to be declared in the major disaster category by the president, the timing of which we were told is likely to happen in early to mid-April. So that is, of course, is not a guarantee, but we feel like, by all the metrics, we think we should be. We've been continuing forward in our formal after-action learning process. We call this oftentimes a hot wash. That's sort of our slang, but it is the formal after-action learning process is what we've been going through, gathering the lessons learned from our response. Our new emergency manager, Tiffany Brown, has done a terrific job leading the way in the process. She led the conversation with county leadership and response staff on February 5th. It was literally her first day on the job. She facilitated that internal debriefing process, and then as the team has digested those discussions on February 5th, we've heard from partners around the county. It's clear that we need to organize a series of smaller, more focused hot washes to drill into various issues from transportation, communication, sheltering, mass care, and other issues in greater details. The result of these hot washes, these various sort of micro hot washes with those different, it's more effective really than having a room of 100 people that are coming from all, right, to break it out into the different disciplines and focus on those categories. Those results are already being added to our emergency operations plan, and we plan to come back to the board with Tiffany to brief you on what we've learned from the process and some of the changes that we're implementing. I think hopefully that will happen in April or May. I'm not exactly sure the time frame of that, but I just want to keep that at the front of your front or back of your mind for now, so that you know that that's something we've talked about. You've had public comment on that issue, and we've been doing a lot of work. Commissioner Farr, to your point, I made this comment recently. We see, we don't see, we don't see, there's a lot of work happening. We will bring that to light for the board and the public here in the coming weeks. Happy to answer any questions on that. The other thing I want to update you all on are grant requests. We've kind of shared some specific successes we've had, particularly with our policy team. And I sort of want to highlight a number of grant proposals that we have put in, and the extent to which, we've done a lot of these things in the past, but they've been isolated within various departments or agencies. What's happening now is we're using our policy team to help connect the dots and leverage different partnerships and assets that we have both internal to the organization and external partners. So I want to give you a few examples of that. And we think that this is going to ultimately make us more successful in achieving various state and federal grant funds that are out there. We've submitted 3 applications for the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Building Resilient Infrastructure for Communities. That's the BRIC grant, funding to support key hazard mitigation projects. So those include, these are the 3. $22.7 million to seismically retrofit the public services building to protect our ability to provide essential services during disaster, including a cascade event. That's this building that we made in here, Harris Hall and this larger public services building. So $22.7 million for that. We've requested $2.8 million for a leachate pipeline for the Short Mountain landfill. Y'all are familiar with that project. we've submitted for these, so I'm not saying that we've been awarded yet, but we've submitted for these. And then 1.5 million on behalf of the Blatchley Lane Electric Co-op to underground a stretch of overhead power lines near Low Pass. We know, through the ice storm and the fire events, that undergrounding of power lines is a really critical hazard mitigation and emergency preparation measure.
Is that 22-point seismic, does that include the courthouse side? Is it the whole building, or is it the PSB side?
PSB side.
Thank you.
Building, yes. Okay, so those are three. The Public Works and our policy team have partnered on a $26.4 million grant proposal for USDOT's Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, or RAISE. The acronym is RAISE. The RAISE grant to transform 30th Avenue from Eldon Schaefer Drive to Agate Street in collaboration with the City of Eugene. The project would introduce several safety measures that the board has previously approved in concept last year. They include a roundabout at Eldon Schaefer, enhanced lighting and Jersey barriers on the south side of 30th for protected shared use path for pedestrians and bicyclists, among other things. And then finally, Public Health, Emergency Management, and our policy team have submitted a $19.5 million proposal to EPA's Community Change Grant Program in partnership with United Way of Lane County to establish a network of resilience hubs across Lane County. This is really incredible if we could achieve this. If we're successful, the funding will enable building equipment retrofits for community and recreation facilities in partnership with the City of Florence, Veneta, Cottage Grove, Bethel School District, and Willamette Lane Park District, and will fund pre-positioning of supplies in each new hub. So the hubs will then become a dispatch, would become dispatchable for emergency shelter space for Lane County emergency management as needed. So if you think about the ice storm or any of these other emergency response efforts, when, we're thinking about just the ice storm, think of, what sites do we have available? Where can we open up sites to actually have these hubs available and pre-stocked in various places throughout the county, depending on where an emergency or where the need may arise? That would be critical. So that's that. I know that was a mouthful, and we'll give you updates as those move forward, but I wanted to note those and also just highlight how critical it is and why we feel really strongly about the capability of, the policy team through our legislative advocacy work, our ARPA team, our economic and community development team, the wildfire recovery team, all that staff that is coming together and help us leverage different partnerships and really be proactive and aggressive in achieving every state and federal dollar that we can to do this important work. That's it.
That last one is very exciting. Do you know what the timeline when we might hear about that for the resiliency hubs?
I don't. I can check on that. Again, joint effort between Public Health, Emergency Management, and our policy staff, as well as United Way. So let me check on the timeline of that.
And the RAISE grant is exciting for folks just watching that don't know. That's the intersection basically at LCC's entrance there, just off the freeway. And as that pickleball facility comes online and so on, that's going to be even more important to get that intersection slowed down because people are coming off the freeway and whipping up 30th, and there's a lot of different conflicting turns and things happening there. So that's hopefully,
I'll just make
fingers crossed for that one.
When we were in Washington, D.C. for the NACO Legislative Conference in February, Matt Chase, who's the executive director of NACO, I had a meeting with and asked him a question. He was making this point that, if you watch the national media about what's happening in Washington, D.C., you'll be fooled into thinking there's absolutely nothing happening. And, on a few issues, that's maybe true. There's stagnation on some sort of really big national issues, but there's a ton happening. And so I just think these are examples of there's funding available for us to do really critical things in our local community here. And what we don't want to do is just sit and watch that money go to other communities. So we're trying to be as aggressive as we can in bringing those federal dollars back, particularly because there are some significant resources. So we'll keep you posted on progress on that.
Great, thank you very much. With that, we are on to item 8. We do have call for executive session. I'll read us in a moment. And after executive session, We will be on lunch recess, convening back here for public session again at 1:30 p.m. And with that, the Board of County Commissioners will meet in executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. This executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.660, parenthesis 2, parenthesis F, which allows the Board of County Commissioners to meet in executive sessions for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decisions may be made in executive session. We reserve the right to come back out into public session should the need arise. At the sound of my gavel, we'll be recessed into executive session, which we will begin at 11:05 a.m. in the Board of County Commissioners conference room.